All praise going on is most certainly due to the Most High, together the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Peace to you. In the name of Jesus, this is your brother Elisha Israel with the House of the Faith. I count it truly a blessing each and every single time that I can come before you to preach the word of God, and I don't count it as a light thing to do so. And I'm coming on quite early today. I had some technical difficulties the other day. I couldn't even stream. Um, that being said, brothers and sisters, I'm going to do a brief lesson on what we were created to be. And peace to you, brother Isaiah. And what we were created to be is to be God. And just to show you that a little bit, because once we understand what we're created to be, it gives us insight on what we should do and how we should be. Psalms, the 82nd division, and verse 1. God, it says in Psalms 82 and verse 1, it says, God standeth in the congregation of the mighty, he judgeth among the gods. Okay? He says, how long will ye judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked? So now what he's talking about man, okay? And he says, how long will you judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked? So he's asking a question about how long will you be unjust when you were created to be God? Then he says what we should do, it says defend the poor and fatherless, do justice to the afflicted and needy. Deliver the poor and needy, rid them out of the hand of the wicked. These are the things that God does. God is just, and therefore we should be just. He says they know, but then he says concerning man, he says they know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. And the darkness that we walk in as a species is a spiritual darkness. It's the wickedness that we are engaged in because we don't understand what we were created to be and our true purpose. So he says, they know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. Hold your finger here. Just go to Romans. In Romans 1, he tells us about this man and what man is. He says, actually, let's pick it up in Romans 3. He says there in verse 11 or verse 10, he says, as it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that understandeth, there is none seeketh after God. They are all going out of the way. They are together become unprofitable. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. Then he goes on to describe this man and what he has become. So the psalmist is doing the same thing here. And then he goes on to say in verse 6, 82 and 6, he tells us what we created to be. He says, I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. So now we are his children. Now let's hold our finger here and let's go to Genesis. Because one thing that when he made things in the beginning, he made everything after its what? After its own kind. So in Genesis 1, and we want to pick it up at verse 11. Genesis 1 and 11, it says, and God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit, after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God said that it was so. So that's what he did amongst vegetation. But then when he gets to man, he says something that a lot of people don't pay attention to. It says in verse 26, and God said, let us make man in our image. Now, who is the us? This is the Father talking to the Son. This is the Father and the Son. These are the ones that make the Godhead up. I heard a famous, or infamous, I should say, female preacher today on the news say that, she had to defend the Trinity. Well, the Trinity, there is no Trinity in the Bible. It's two. You had a Father and a Son. So it says, because you read it in John 1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made. The one that made everything was the Word. So in verse 26, it says in Genesis 1 and 26, and God said, let us make man in our image. The us is not referring to angels. We are not made in the image, in the likeness of angels. Read Ezekiel, and you'll find, around Ezekiel 1, you'll find what an angel looks like. And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female, created he them. people act like male and female is a distinct species. Each no, we are a species with mankind. You have male and you have female. Okay, but what did he do? He made us in the image and the likeness of God. Okay, now, so now we should ask the question: what would happen if we hadn't sinned? If man had not sinned, he would have went from being man to being God. Let's go to Hebrews. Still holding your finger in Psalms. Let's go to Hebrews. See, and he showed us an example of this. Hebrews, the 11th chapter, and we're going to pick it up at verse 5. It says, by faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death. Now, wait a minute. If he didn't see death, what is he? He became God. Not the God, but a God. He says, we read in Psalms 82, I have said, ye are gods.